Hey guys, and welcome back to ScarletSprites. So it's funny because every now and then someone's like, when are you going to do another Neo Geo video? Because your channel is all about Neo Geo. And I think maybe a few years ago that might have been partially true, that I covered a lot of Neo Geo stuff, but at the time I was chasing down the end of my MVS collection, and also the Neo Geo Mini and the Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro had just come out. So I don't want to say it's a resurgence of Neo Geo at that time, but those two items came out and then things kind of went away for a little bit. But now I just kind of come and go with whatever arcade stuff I happen to be working on or have some type of interest in at the time. So the channel is just kind of organic as I move through the hobby, I guess. But today I thought, all right, we'll take a look at Neo Geo, maybe indirectly, because, I'm not a big modern gamer. I'm just not. But I've noticed more recently, there have been some Neo Geo sequels coming out for modern systems. And that's really amazing to me. Like, I can't believe that in 2022, we're getting some sequels to some of the titles that came out originally on the Neo Geo platform. And I think a lot of you guys are pretty well aware that the King of Fighters series gets regular updates. Like, there's new installments of that happening. Samurai Showdown, right? I talked about that with the Vulix. But those are the bigger titles. Those are things that you almost kind of come to expect. Maybe a little less so with Samurai Showdown, but the King of Fighters series, it seems like they update that pretty regularly. I don't know if it's every year or every 2 years. I don't really stay on top of it, but I'm aware that that's out there. I think most of you guys are as well. I'm talking about more obscure titles that you probably never thought were going to get sequels. So I have 3 games that I'm thinking of here right off the top of my head, and I'm sure that you guys are probably aware of others, so definitely mention those in the comments down below. So the first of the 3 games that I'm talking about today is probably the most popular of those 3, and that's Windjammers. For people who don't know, Windjammers, look, toss the fighting games out of the Neo Geo's library. I think you could make an argument that Windjammers is a top 5 game on Neo Geo. From a multiplayer standpoint, the game itself, it's kind of simple, but at the same time, there's strategy involved, and it has that nice balance of being easy to pick up, but tough to master. I don't know, that sounds a little cliche, but I think for those of you who have played it, you might agree. It's also a game that I've seen tournaments for, which I think, Too Many Games a couple years ago had a Windjammers tournament. I mean, it's fun. It's a staple on the system, and it's such a simple concept, so it's hard to imagine that you would get a sequel to this, especially how many years after the fact. But it happened. We got a Windjammers 2. And I haven't spent a ton of time with this, which, isn't going to surprise you, anybody who's been following the channel. I haven't had a lot of time to play games. Don't play modern games that much as it is. But, these interest me. Seeing a sequel to Windjammers, that interests me. Now, most of this I've played on the PC. I picked up the Nintendo Switch version. This is the collector's edition from Limited Run Games. I really don't buy collector's edition stuff anymore. I think it's a lot of bullshit, but in this case, I'll be honest with you, I like the box as a display. And so that's why I went all in on this one. And I also have the first Windjammers that they did for Nintendo Switch. So having the second one here and being able to display them side by side, it just kind of makes sense. So yes, I'm guilty of being a shelf collector in this case, but Windjammers 2, I mean, did you ever think that we were going to see this? I played a little bit of it on PC. I actually, after all of this discussion about picking up the collector's edition for Switch, I haven't played it that much on Switch, but I have played it on PC. And, it's pretty great. Updated graphics, obviously. There's a few changes to some of the mechanics, but I did like that the developers noted that one of their focuses was to stay true to the original. Don't deviate too far from that original formula and kind of make it an update as opposed to revamping the whole thing and probably pissing everybody off. So Windjammers 2, I mean, wow, just never thought we were going to see this, but here it is. All right, so the second game on the list here, Andro Dunos. I mean, come on, Andro Dunos got a sequel. Like, that's so hard to believe. Look, not the fine people who watch this channel, but if you went out to the more mainstream, how many people even know that that was a Neo Geo game? Probably not many. It's funny, when I saw this game being announced, or I should say the sequel being announced, there's people coming out of the woodwork like, oh, that's my favorite game. Bullshit. That is, you never even heard of that game until this came out for Nintendo Switch, or the sequel came out for Nintendo Switch. You had no idea this game existed, because honestly, I'm a huge Neo Geo fan and I forget about it sometimes, right? So for people to come out and say this is their favorite game on Neo Geo, or it's their favorite shooter, I mean, have you played Blazing Star? Have you played Polestar? Come on. The important thing is we got an Andro Dunos sequel. And once again, like I popped this in, I've played it a little bit. It's fun. I don't know that there's anything here that totally blows me away. Maybe the soundtrack, actually. I think the soundtrack on this was really good. But it's a worthy update, and it's a sequel that you never thought you were going to have. Or look, I don't want to speak for you. I never thought we were going to have this. Quite honestly, I just talked about Blazing Star and Polestar. Like, man, if somebody could dig the licensing up for that and make a Polestar sequel, that could be something. But hey, here it is, Andro Dunos 2. So all credit goes to the developers for this one. I mean, it's a Visco license, which I think we'll come back to in a second before we close out this video. But again, it's a game I never thought we would see. So on the heels of that, and talking about games that people don't know exist, Gon Ryu for the Neo Geo. And I remember when I picked up the cartridge for this as I was working through completing the MVS collection, and I bought it internationally. The post office lost it. It was missing for a good, I think it was almost like 10 days, and nobody knew where it was. And I remember at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but at the time, this didn't come up for sale very often. It was hard to find a Gon Ryu cartridge. And the post office was like, look, you're going to have to file a claim. And I had bought the thing internationally, and they're like, you can just buy another one. Like, okay, like if I can find another one, maybe I'll do that after I get my money. But thankfully the post office did find the cartridge, and I was able to get this. The game itself is not great. I mean, just being honest, the later levels of this really start to showcase what I think the game could have been with some of like the swinging and the platforming. But for the most part, the game, it's a little lackluster. It's not phenomenal. But to my surprise, and I'll be honest, again, I'm not up on things. I'm not watching Nintendo Switch news daily. I was scrolling Amazon and I saw Gon Ryu 2 being sold for Nintendo Switch, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I did a double take. So I actually don't own this one. I don't own Gon Ryu 2. I'm very interested in playing it because I do think if somebody had spent a little bit more time with that original installment on Neo Geo, this could have been a pretty great game. I don't want to say it would be the Strider or the Ninja Gaiden of the Neo Geo. It seems like that seems ambitious, but you kind of get the idea of where this might have been going. So if that's the case, and I'll be honest, I didn't look up any reviews or anything, so I'm completely blind on this, but I'm very interested in playing Gon Ryu 2, and it may be something I just pick up digitally here over the holidays. But another game that I would bet that people do not know exists for Neo Geo now has a sequel on Nintendo Switch, and it's phenomenal. Like, I just can't believe this is happening. So this is another Visco game, and I'm wondering if those licenses, for whatever reason, are either cheaper, easier to pick up, or both. So maybe that's why you're seeing some of these things come out. Another pretty good Visco game, I would say, is Breaker's Revenge. It's a fighting game. Shocker, Neo Geo has a bunch of fighting games on it. But Breaker's Revenge and Breakers, the original, are pretty decent titles, and I think a lot of those go unnoticed. I want to say I've read and I've heard from people who have played in Breaker's Revenge tournaments that still take place over in Japan, and it seems to be like it's still kind of I don't want to say it's popular, but there is a following for it. So that's pretty cool. So I don't know, maybe you could get a Breaker's Revenge 2 or whatever you might want to call that. But that would be pretty awesome to see some additional Visco titles come out. I wouldn't mind that at all. And so that kind of brings me full circle here to the end and back to you guys. What Neo Geo games have gotten sequels more recently that I may have missed? And then secondly, as a follow-up to that, what Neo Geo sequels would you guys like to see? And you know what? If you want to shout out another Metal Slug, more power to you. I'm kind of thinking of stuff like Cyberlip. Could we get a Cyberlip 2, like where you might be able to shoot diagonally? Like that might actually be nice. If somebody just wanted to update the original, that would be fine too. But like I'm thinking of titles like that, things that would be cool. Robo Army is a great like Neo Geo beat 'em up, you know. That actually might be an oxymoron, but you get what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't mind seeing a Robo Army 2, and if we could, yeah, man, it's just the potential to revitalize some of these old franchises. But yeah, shout out what Neo Geo sequels you would like to see on a modern day platform. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join if you would be so kind. And I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.